Should cannabis be made legal in Belize? It's the only question that will likely be posed to the electorate on a date that is yet to be determined. The churches are successful in triggering a referendum, during which the voting public will decide whether this hemp plant should be authorized for use without the restrictions that are currently in place for cultivation, sale, and possession beyond a certain quantity.
It's a good and wonderful day to see our democracy and to see our democratic processes at work, and in particular under the Referendum Act. As you know, any group of people, persons can come together, and so long as they can garner 10% of the voting population signatures, they can trigger a referendum on any particular issue. And so I think it's a good and wonderful day that they have actually been able to meet that threshold. I know it was a very onerous exercise that they had to undergo.
To get here, the Elections and Boundaries Department had to pour over thousands of signed petitions to ensure that those signatures were from individuals who are eligible to vote.
I can tell you that in terms of the number of petitions that we received, the total was 20,112 petitions. Of those petitions, a total of 18,891, or 10.07% of the total number of registered electors were accepted. So 18,891 signatures were accepted.
Having completed that phase, Governor General Froilan Salam was written to by Chief Elections Officer Josephine Tamai earlier today, informing her that the threshold has been met successfully.
I certified to the Governor General that the verification of the signatures of the petitioners have been duly signed by at least 10% of the registered electors in the entire country. At the time of presentation of those signatures, the total number of registered electors stood at 187,527 registered electors. Therefore, 10% of that number amounted to 18,753.
A date for the cannabis referendum is still pending. However, it is expected that a written order commanding the Chief Elections Officer to hold an election of referendum will be issued by the Crown's representative.
The process goes on to the second stage, which the Governor General, within 30 days, is to issue a writ of referenda. And then within 30 days thereafter, there should be a referendum on this particular issue. I know that would take us somewhere closer to the date of September 4th. I believe that would be the final deadline, 60 days from now, all things considered.
But what does this mean for an administration that has spent considerable time drafting a new legislation, tabling it in the House, have it go through all its motions, only for it to be met with objection from the religious community?
It's very good for our democracy. It's always important for us to have a say by the people. And in this particular instance, like I said, the people will have a say, despite the fact that a lot of people have said, well, this is a very costly venture. We should be spending our resources in more priority areas. And also I've heard the fact that they're saying, well, what really changes after the referendum? Because really and truly, the day after the referendum, cannabis will still be legal in the country. And so I think there's a lot of misinformation out there in terms of what we are actually doing. It is actually creating an industry. It is, in my opinion, what the referendum will decide is whether we want to continue to be a consumer nation or an importer nation, as opposed to a producer nation.
Despite a referendum being imminent, the results of that exercise are not legally binding. Therefore, the Briceño administration can proceed with enacting the Cannabis and Hemp Control Licensing Bill 2022. Reporting for News 5, I am Isani Cayetano.